When it comes to progressing in the gym, what would you say is your favorite method? Is it increasing weight, increasing reps, increasing sets, reducing the speed of the exercise to make it harder, or reducing the rest period, keeping everything else the same?
So weight is ultimately the best form of progression and the most important one. But it's not always possible. If it was always possible, you could just starting strength your way to 1,000-pound 5x5s, and that would be nice. Unfortunately, you can't always add weight to the bar, and that's where the second one would probably be reps. So if you can't add weight every single session, then I typically use what is called a double progression. So maybe you give yourself a range. So you take your sets of 8 to an 8 to 10, and so you go from sets of 8, then you build to 9s to 10s, and then you add weight. And so you're essentially manipulating two different variables. After weight and after reps, that's where you might go into a triple progression and add sets. But I tend to auto-regulate that based on the day. So if I'm feeling good, I'm feeling fresh, I slept well, stress is low, less work, maybe I'll do a little bit more volume. I almost don't really think about that as a form of progressive overload, though, because to me, it's not a sign of performance. And Sean Nalawani actually did a video on this on Instagram. Yeah, adding sets is not really progressive overload. It's more difficult, but it doesn't necessarily mean you got better. It just means you stayed in the gym longer. It just means that you did more volume. And it's hard to say if you could or could not have done that the week before or the session before. So, let's say I do 2 sets of 10, week 1, week 2, 10, 10, 10, week 3, 10, 10, 10, 10. So going from 2 to 3 to 4 sets, all 10 reps. I mean, I did more, but it's not necessarily a sign that you got stronger, that you made adaptations. So I tend to just do that auto-regulated at this point, maybe 2 to 3 sets, 2 to 4 sets, 3 to 4 sets, 3 to 5 sets, depends on the movement. I can handle more volume, I would say, than most people. So that would be my third go-to for progression, although it's not really progressive overload. In terms of rest times, I tend to auto-regulate that as well. I don't time. I really recommend most people do that. And I've noticed most advanced lifters, they don't time things strictly. Sometimes I get asked, how long should I rest? I think maybe this comes from exercise science, where they have strict rest times in order to standardize things. And that's not a criticism of exercise science at all. If you're performing an experiment, that's good. You need to have these things static. You can't just go in there and be like, the participant asks you, so how long should I rest? Just start when you want to start. I think that's good for real training, because you have to be able to know when you can go, and knowing when you can go is a very useful skill. It's not just, the stopwatch says I'm ready. If you're not physiologically ready, you're just not ready, or psychologically ready sometimes, right? Sometimes your body is ready, but your mind still needs a little bit of time for the next set of RDLs. So I would say rest time should go by feel. In the exercise science, maybe they have strict 2-minute rest times, which is fine, but that's not informing people of how they should train. A study is not a protocol. A study is not, hey, you should also do this. They are just trying to find out what variables are doing the outcome, right? So I would say rest times go by feel, auto-regulate that as well. It could be a minute on smaller movements. If you're doing calf raises, if you're doing wrist curls or forearm work or neck work, a minute might be plenty. Compounds, probably 2 to 3 minutes. Again, these are just very general guidelines. And then lower body compounds, we're talking 3, 4, maybe 5 or more minutes. If you're doing all-out sets of 15 to 20 on RDLs, even if you're in good shape, 2 minutes is that 2 minutes goes by pretty quickly when you just finished a really hard set of a big lower body compound. And even if it's a leg press, it's not working as many muscles as a back squat, but it's still taxing enough that I think 2 minutes is probably on the low side. And you can go based on performance as well. If you do an all out set of leg press the first set and you get 12 reps, and then you go again and you get 4 reps the next set, I think you either have really bad work capacity, but more likely you just didn't rest long enough. And you will see some performance decrease. I think it's pretty normal if you're training hard. If I see someone with that previous example and I see 10, 10, 10, 10, more often than not, the first few sets were not to failure, which might be okay. Maybe you do a 3 reps in reserve, 2 reps in reserve, 1 reps in reserve. Failure, I think that can work as well. But if someone says, yeah, all 4 sets to failure, I would want to see those sets because I'm really curious about how that is possible. I mean, maybe if you're very, very endurant and you're resting a long time, but in most cases, I think people are not getting as close to failure as they think.
That was world-class response, and I agree with everything you said there. As a fellow lifter myself of 15 years, adding weight and reps is just the most honest way to do it, because in the past I got into the trap of adding sets. But let's be honest, that extra set, it's just you hiding from putting more weight on the bar or doing more reps. And it was well said in the respect that you don't know how that is week to week. Like, you could have done the same thing last week. Whereas if you were close to your failure or you reached failure previously on whatever weight and rep range and you did more, you have improved. So if we can constrain the things that we have to change, it keeps us honest. It keeps tracking things reliable and repeatable. And then all we have to focus on doing really for bodybuilding is keeping other things constant. For me personally, I find it really difficult when I'm trying to progress with weight or reps to not change my technique. It's like a constant battle, man. It's like, okay, I've been on this weight and this rep range, and I just want to add another rep. And then you start going a bit quicker and you rush. And it's like, deep down, you know, you actually made it easier. So how do you circumvent this? Is there any way, Jeff?
I do not. I think that is when you're advanced, especially, it is very challenging because, all right, I'll give you an example. For my incline dumbbell curls, I probably put on 1 to 2 reps a year with a certain weight, maybe 3. So it's a movement I've done many times. I've done it for many years. It's one of the most used curls in my repertoire. And when you're an advanced natural lifter, I've been at it 10 years, and you're just not going to gain that much strength. And so it's really difficult to even measure your progress. But there's almost always a way to cheat, to get more reps. Again, you're quickening things up. Maybe even on a fairly strict curl like an incline dumbbell, you can do this kind of stuff. You can do where your shoulders they're going forward in the bottom position, and then in the top position, you're kind of like rotating them upwards. And so you're still working your biceps, but you're working other stuff as well, even the chest at times, to get them into the movement. And then on like a freestanding easy bar curl or barbell curl, man, you can get tons of stuff involved there. I mean, you can get the chest involved slightly. You can get the hips. I mean, the hips are so strong. If you think about how much weight you can deadlift and squat and you can hang power clean compared to a curl, whenever I hear someone with a heavy curl, more often than not, it's like an underhand power clean.
It's like a push press bicep curl or a hip thrust. I'm training glutes on bicep day, boys.
And I don't think that takes away from your glute training. When someone's like, this is excess fatigue, the hips are so strong that it's not really fatiguing them, but you could also be getting less out of the movement in terms of what you're trying to actually do with it, which is train the biceps. And so standardizing your technique is important. That being said, I also think it's possible on some movements to allow a little bit of slop and then clean it up later. So you sort of emphasize progressive overload a little bit more at times, So you're adding in extra muscles to help out. And then and this is subtle, right? This is not flailing around. This is not tossing around weights. This is just like maybe on a push down, you're leaning forward a little bit to get over the weight and to lock it out. But then you're still controlling the eccentric, because I think that eccentric is still very, very important. And then on the last one, maybe you get a little bit of extra momentum. And then later you clean it up. After a few months, you say, okay, well, I'm gonna try to clean this up. And sometimes you take that new level of performance and you almost stay at that level of performance while making it look better over time. And then you go back into okay, now I'm chasing reps, chasing weight again. And I think that can work well. But as a beginner, it's probably not needed, just because you should be able to progress with static standard form very quickly anyway. And so, yeah, when I see a beginner using these more advanced strategies, it's a little bit of a red flag, because you want to save these things like rest pause or overloaded eccentrics. You want to save these for later when they're actually needed. If you don't need them, don't use them. Training like an advanced lifter doesn't make you an advanced lifter. That's one thing that I think a lot of people, they make that mistake. They see advanced lifters doing rest pause or using some intensity technique, and then they think, oh, if I do these things, I will become advanced. No, they're advanced because they did other stuff to get there, and now they're using this. You have to walk the boring basic path to get there.
If you enjoyed that, click here for the full Fitness FAQs video. Peace.